everybody, Rachel McLiff here from Empire Tax Professionals. So a lot of you know that I'm licensed by the IRS. I'm licensed in 50 states, and my company helps businesses on a day-to-day basis with bookkeeping, payroll, everything from A to Z, and you don't even ever need to worry about it. So this week we've been on so many phone calls with business owners, and actually this week it's a lot of new business owners have been calling us because they are worried and they don't know what they need to do. They don't know, if they should open a corporation. They don't know if they need to have a bookkeeping set up. They don't know if they need to start paying themselves. There's so many questions that they have. Also, they don't know what is deductible, what's not deductible. They're so confused and they're just coming to us for guidance. So question number one is they've been asking us is what entity should I be? A lot of you need to understand that you don't want to go online and just register for an entity just because you think that entity is right. There are a lot of people that come to us and they register online and they are the wrong entity. They've been overpaying in taxes for the past 2 or 3 years because they registered online on their own, and then they also do their taxes on their own. So there is no guidance. I tell people you need somebody to help you make sure that you're the right entity. That's why you want to hire a professional. And then you also need somebody to prepare your return, a professional that understands every single line on the tax return so they can guide you and make sure you're literally deducting everything you can possible. I don't know if you know this, but the IRS has a 3-year statute of limitations, which means that if you overpaid on your taxes for the past few years, you are able to amend your returns and add additional expenses that you forgot to include and get a refund. After 3 years, you can't no longer do that. But I want to tell you something, that you do have a higher risk of getting audited because when you amend your returns, you're mailing it to the IRS, and an IRS agent looks at the returns and they're reviewing it. They're looking at the returns and they're entering the data into their system, and you will get that refund. But if they ever have any questions, they will question you. So when you amend those returns, or even when you prepare your returns, you always want to make sure that you have a backup for everything, okay? So if you're just coming on, I'm speaking about, new business owners that have been calling us this week and they're just confused about what entity they should be, if they should be filing their own returns, if they should be doing bookkeeping, etc. So I don't know if you guys know, but there's several different types of entities that a lot of business owners have the option. They have the option of becoming a sole proprietor, a single member LLC, a multi-member LLC, a C Corp, and an S Corp. Now, a sole proprietor where you have no legal status, like you're just running under your name. A lot of people come to us and they say, yeah, I'm an S Corp, but then they're really a sole proprietor. They don't have a company name. They don't have anything. And one of the biggest mistakes that any business owner can do is be the wrong entity. You want to make sure that you are the right entity from the very beginning. And that's why I tell people you should have an accountant from the beginning before you start your business. You don't need monthly services because that's just a waste of money. You need somebody to guide you and say, yes, based on the situation that you're in, you do need to be a C Corp. You do need to be an S Corp. You should be a single member LLC, or you should be a multi-member LLC, depending on the specifics of the situation, okay? So yeah, Joseph, I hear you. Okay, so basically back to what I was saying. Sole proprietor has no legal status. If anybody decides to sue you, they can go after your personal assets. You prepare your returns with your individual return, and you don't need to file a separate return with a sole proprietor. But again, you have a high risk of audit. You have you're at a higher tax bracket, and you prepare your returns with your individual. I don't recommend sole proprietor unless you have like a side gig for $500 or whatever, then it makes sense for you to be a sole proprietor. But if you have and you want to be an established business, other entities may be better for you depending on your specific situation. The next entity would be a single member LLC. You're taxed as a sole proprietor, so you're paying income taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and then the state and the city depending on where you live. You are protected, so if anybody decides to sue you, you are protected, but you're paying the highest amount of taxes and you have a very high audit risk. So single member LLCs, a lot of entities, they come to us and they don't know when they should switch to an S Corp, when it makes sense. And it usually depends on the amount of money that you're making. And it depends on the state that you're in. It depends on several different things, but the most popular entity is an S corp, and it varies. It depends on the specific situation. I don't want to be giving legal advice. Every single situation varies. So you want to check with your accountant or give us a call and let us know, and we'll ask you specific questions to let you know what entity is best for you. The next question that this specific client asked me, or prospect this today, he asked me, do I need bookkeeping services? And I said, listen, if you're just starting your business or if you're making less than $10,000 on a monthly basis, you do not need bookkeeping services. Bookkeeping services would be a complete waste of money for you because you don't have that many transactions and you're able to keep track of your income and expenses on your own. So first things first, you want to see if you want to open an entity, if you need one based on how much money you're going to be making, based on the state that you're in. You also want to speak to an attorney for legal reasons to see if you really need to be protected in your specific industry. I know a lot of medical professionals would want to open a corporation because they have a very high liability, etc. So first thing's entity. Second thing is bookkeeping. If you're making less than $10,000 a month, I don't recommend having a bookkeeper. I don't recommend hiring us either. It doesn't make sense. It would make sense if you did your own bookkeeping where you're able to track your own income and expenses. And as Tony Robbins says, whatever you focus on grows, right? I think that's what he says, something like that. So you want to make sure that you are you're able to grow your company. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. You want to make sure that you're able to do the bookkeeping on your own and are able to keep track of your own expenses. Next thing is a lot of people are asking us is if you are a sole proprietor and you have everything under your personal name, how do you separate it? So regardless of the entity, so even sole proprietors, if you're a single member LLC, S corp, no matter what, and you actually, if you're an entity, you are required to open a separate bank account if you have a business. So you open a separate bank account, you're required to deposit all of your income into that bank account and make sure all of your expenses are paid from that bank account. So if you have your phone bill, now you have to also make sure that you're allocating the expenses correctly, because if your phone bill is for personal and business, you want to make sure that you're only deducting the business portion. You could deduct your internet, your phone bill, a portion of your rent. It has to be done the right way depending on the entity that you're in. Your advertising, your coaching expenses. If you hire a bookkeeper, if you hire a tax professional, there's a list of expenses that you're able to deduct, and it depends on the entity that you are in, but you need to have specific advice based on your specific information. I'm here giving you a ton of general advice. And when people ask us these questions, it is kind of like, I say like it's malpractice for a tax accountant to answer any questions without looking at the specific situation, right? There are accountants that give out, answers and they don't even know the situation. And then the clients, they do their thing, and then something changes and they are not able to deduct that specific expense, or there's just you need to understand that just like a doctor checks blood work and they check other things, they do a whole diagnostic and then they're able to prescribe the specific medication. I think accountants should really be the same. And I hate giving general advice. Everybody needs to seek a professional to make sure that the entity that you're choosing, the specific, if you're filing married, filing jointly, are you filing with your children, or what expenses you're able to deduct, what tax advance strategies that you're able to take advantage of. It depends on how much money you're making, what expenses do you have, what entity are you, how many children do you have, what state are you in, what are your future goals, do you want to buy investment properties, etc. There's so many things that go into answering the client's questions, and people should really not give advice online and just like that. So again, back to my record keeping tips. You want to make sure you open a separate bank account. You deposit all your income into that account. You pay for all your business expenses from that account. You want to make sure that everything is separated. And then payroll is another thing. So they start asking us, how much do I need to pay myself? And a lot of these businesses that are asking me this are single member LLCs or sole proprietors. Now you need to understand you are not allowed to pay yourself as a W-2, as an employee, from a single member LLC or a sole proprietor. It is actually illegal to issue the business owner a W-2 if you're a single member LLC not taxed as an S Corp. If you're a single member LLC taxed as an S Corp, then you should be paying yourself a reasonable compensation through a W-2. But if you're a single member LLC not taxed as an S Corp, you're not allowed to pay yourself on a W-2. And other payroll companies, they don't know the tax law, so they just say, yeah, sure, I could, help you with payroll. They process it, and then when they come to us a year later and we see the entity that they're in, we normally go amend the payroll returns or help them become an S Corp, so they don't need to amend everything, again, depending on the situation. So again, they ask us, what expenses are deductible. I just went over it. If you want a specific list of tax expenses that you are able to deduct for your business, then we could send you a sheet, and you need to make sure that the general rule they say is what's deductible is whatever is ordinary and necessary. So if you're in the fashion business and you need to attend fashion Broadway shows because you're doing research or you're doing something specific that you're required to go to this fashion show for business, then that would be deductible. If I need to go to an accounting conference and I need to travel out of state and I need to get continuing education classes, that is deductible. If I need to attend a marketing conference so I could boost my income, that would be deductible. Staples, office supplies, all of that is deductible because that's necessary and ordinary for your business. Now, I know I posted something earlier where I said you need to have receipts. Guys, you need to have receipts for every single thing. The IRS does not accept bank statements or bank transactions and credit card transactions. The IRS once said to me, if you went to the gas station, how would I know that you got gas and a pack of cigarettes? How would you know that? Because cigarettes are not deductible. You need to, so on the transaction, it's going to say, Exxon or whatever, gas company, but it won't really give the IRS the details of what you paid. So the IRS wants to see the receipts for everything. And a lot of people have been asking us, are scanned receipts sufficient enough? And yes, they are. They are 100% sufficient enough. It's always best if you scan everything in and keep it in organized folders. I honestly don't even go to the store anymore. I know a lot of digital marketers don't go. I try to buy everything through Amazon or even Staples. And then I have a secure folder on my desktop where I save all of my receipts, and my admin does this too. So anything that we purchase online is just the actual details is saved in a specific folder in our email, in our Dropbox. And we just have records of advertising. And then we also classify it by months. You obviously need a specific, person to help you with that. But if you're making less than 10K a month, just dump it all in a folder and that should be fine. I would also recommend for you to do your own bookkeeping yourself, like I mentioned before, because if you're making less than $10,000 a month, you really want to focus on your bookkeeping on your own, and you do not on purpose want to hire it out. I spoke to somebody today and I said, honestly, you do not need my service. You're making less than 10K a month. He was focused on, chiropractic clients, trying to pick up his business. He's a digital marketer, which I know for sure digital marketers have an amazing offer and service, and most of them really do well. So I said, just pick up a few clients, maybe 5 to 10. And once you get there, then it makes sense for you to delegate all your bookkeeping to us. But as of right now, you should focus on sales, marketing, delivery, and it would probably be an hour or two on bookkeeping because you don't have that many transactions. The next question that a lot of people ask us is, when is it time for you to hire an accountant, right? There's, you don't know when it's time to hire an accountant. And I always say you should hire an accountant before you even start your business, because you need to know what entity you need to be. You need to know how to properly do the bookkeeping because you need some guidance. You don't need somebody to do it for you, but you need guidance, and you need somebody to help you know what's deductible, know what's not, let you know that you should open a separate bank account, start depositing all your money into one bank account, and don't mix loans into your business bank account. So the IRS does not like when you deposit personal money into your business account, because the IRS is going to say, this is income, that you need to then prove that it's not income. And you want to make sure that you transfer funds from your personal to your business account. So the IRS sees, okay, that transfer was made from your 0526 account. We know that's your personal, that's not income. I've seen a lot of people do that where they just add all of their income, and they include their personal money into their income, which is a huge mistake, because then you end up paying more money in taxes. But then your risks also go up in audit, because if you're reporting, $30,000 on the return and you have $50,000 deposited into your bank account, there's a discrepancy, and you need to tell the IRS what the difference is and where the money came from. Okay. So there's just so many questions. The bottom line is you could get a ton of general information. You just need to have specific information based on your specific situation. And you need to know that the people that you are hiring are licensed. There's so many people that come to us. I actually had a lady earlier today that was literally crying to me because she got a letter from New York State and her accountant does not pick up the phone. She prepared her return by April 15th. And her accountant does not pick up the phone. She called her several times and nothing. It's December. I've been in the office every single day this entire year. And I mean, you just need to make sure that you're hiring the proper company to help you, because there's so many accountants that they close their office April 15 and they come back to work between January 1st to April 15th. So first question you want to ask when you hire somebody is, are you licensed? Are you a licensed CA? Are you a licensed CPA? Or are you an attorney? I personally, and this is my personal opinion, I think it's really funny when attorneys prepare returns. It's like a doctor drawing blood. You're just overqualified for that job. I don't know if it makes sense for an attorney to do that. They normally take care of criminal issues and other high level issues. I would be very careful. I don't know, maybe if you have a very complex situation, maybe it makes sense for you to hire an attorney to prepare a return. But most of the times, enrolled agents and CPAs are just fine. Enrolled agents, they're licensed in 50 states. CPAs are licensed in 1. And enrolled agents are tax specialists. They get their license from the IRS, and CPAs get their license from the state. So other question is do you offer bookkeeping, payroll, sales tax? Do you offer the entire service? So again, another business owner, I'm thinking of a specific client. I spoke to him earlier this year, and his accountant, I believe he did the payroll, they did their bookkeeping, they prepared their returns at the end of the year, but they did not want to touch sales tax. They did not want to touch, they just didn't want to do it. They didn't want to touch it. And this client was behind, and they didn't know that he had a requirement. Otherwise, they probably would advise them. They don't know, what the sales tax requirements are. And he's behind on sales tax for maybe several quarters. I don't remember exactly. But at the end of the day, we calculated how much money he would have paid. I think it was $140,000 in taxes. And that's a huge damn mistake, because his accountant decided to do everything except sales tax. But the client did not know that he had a sales tax obligation, and he thought that he was fine all this time. So going to one accountant and letting them, making sure that they're able to help you with every single tax type. So there's bookkeeping, there's payroll, there's sales tax, there's corporate returns, there's individual returns, there's IRS and state notices. There's so many things. And if your accountant is not familiar with one tax type, you may end up paying thousands of dollars in taxes because they're not familiar with it. And you don't know what to search. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know if you need somebody for sales tax. So you're not going to start calling 5 different accountants. It's just too much. I'm a business owner. I have 1,000 things on my head, and I would rather hire one company to do it all. So you want to make sure that you're asking them, if I ever get an IRS notice in June, would you be able to help me? Do you have a team that can help me? I had a client last year. She was a daycare business, and her accountant passed away, and she did not have a team. She did not have anybody. Nobody was able to pick up the phones. I think eventually they ended up selling it. But, she needed several years worth of returns. She came to me not knowing what was filed, what was not filed. She doesn't even know, how the numbers came about. She doesn't know if she has bookkeeping. She doesn't know if she has QuickBooks. And she was really stressed. You need to, even if whoever you prepare, you want to make sure that you get copies of your returns. We have a secure portal and you get copies of everything. So, if you ever wanted to leave, you have copies of everything and you know exactly what was filed, what was not filed, etc. So, other things, do you offer tax planning services is another question that you want to ask your accountant. A lot of accountants just are tax preparers. Bookkeepers focus on bookkeeping. Payroll people focus on payroll. You want to know, do you offer tax planning services? We have a client, it's really funny. Okay, it's just funny. I spoke to this client last week. He was making about $2.5 million. He's an Amazon seller. And he called, he speaks to me on the phone and he says, I love my bookkeepers. They are the best. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm like, that's great. What do you love about them? And he's like, they do everything on time and that's perfect. That's great. They put all the profit and loss reports. They email him the profit and loss reports and he's extremely happy about the way the reports look. Okay, perfect. So I asked him about like payroll questions and I believe they did that as well. But when I asked him about sales tax, he said that he delegates that because he's an Amazon seller. And when you do retail arbitrage, when you do online arbitrage, when you do, and when you have nexus in different states, you're required to register in different states, which is another reason why you should have an accountant from day one, because you need to register for Department of Labor before you even hire any employees. You need to have workers' comp insurance before you have any employees. And if you do it on your own, you won't know that, okay? So back to this client. So I started asking him a bunch of questions because that's what we do in our calls. And I realized that he's been overpaying in taxes by like 20, just on the call, it was like $22,000 in taxes. You may love your bookkeeper, and I'm so happy that you're so happy with their service and they're putting everything in the proper buckets. But did you know you've been paying taxes $20,000 to $20,000 every single year? And he said, no, I didn't even know that. I said, did anybody really discuss the tax planning in November with you and let you know, say, hey, your profits are, I don't remember what it was, but your net income is like $100,000. Did anybody let you know if you were able to put money into an IRA, how much would you, how much should you put into an IRA and how much money would you save? Did anybody ever discuss that with you? And he was in his late 40s. So just imagine how much money he would have saved. And guys, when you're 40 years old and you don't have an IRA, that's bad. I mean, every single business owner, because you're in business, you don't have your employer putting 3% into your IRA. You do want to put money into your IRA. So when you become 65 years old, you have something, something to rely on. I know a lot of e-commerce sellers don't like putting money into an IRA, but when you have a lot of cash, and it doesn't really matter if you have $300,000 in your bank account or $200,000, you should put X amount of dollars into your IRA every single month or every single year, especially if you're able to get a huge tax write-off because you're able to, put money into your IRA. Now, so I asked him, I said, you've been paying $20,000 to $20,000 every single year. And I said, how could it be? Are people like that crazy? I mean, yeah, you could hire a bookkeeper to put everything in the right buckets, which is what we do. But I focus on two things. My main thing is I don't want my clients overpaying in taxes by $1 damn. I don't care. I don't want my clients overpaying in taxes. I look at the specific deductions. I make sure that everything is in the proper buckets, but bookkeeping is just a portion of the entire tax system, right? So then I also asked him, do you pay estimated tax payments? And he said, yeah, that's another thing that he's struggling with because he pays his taxes at the end of the year and he's been paying his taxes at the end of the year. And I'm like, what's the point of having bookkeeping every single month? If nobody's helping you pay your taxes on a quarterly basis, nobody's reviewing the numbers and making sure that you're able to reduce your liability before the year ends based on the bookkeeping. Yeah, you could have a great bookkeeper, but the point of that is for you to save money. That is the point. You should not be overpaying in taxes, especially if you have a bookkeeper all year round. It just doesn't make any sense. And another reason why you want to have a bookkeeper is so you understand your financials. How much money are you making? What are your expenses? What subscriptions do you have that need to be canceled? What is your net income? Can you reinvest into, hiring more employees, getting a bigger office? There's so many things that you're able to do and so many more decisions that you're able to make based on the monthly P&L. So guys, if you have a bookkeeper or if you have an accountant and they don't, I had another client, like I think I said it in the last video, he was making an Amazon seller making $1.7 million. He had a bookkeeper who he also was very happy with, okay? And he had an accountant at the end of the year who really just put the numbers into the system based on what his bookkeeper gave him. And he owed $100,000 in taxes. Nobody paid his estimated payments. If he got a notice, he didn't really know where to go. His accountant closed after April 15. His bookkeeper didn't really understand much about the IRS notices. And he was so frustrated. And now he's a client for several months. He was so frustrated because, it's frustrating when you have a bookkeeper that can't answer your tax questions, when you have an accountant that's only available once a year. I would never hire somebody like that. And especially somebody making over $1 million, or even I would say $150,000 a year, should not hire somebody like that, because your numbers is what will help you grow 10x. Your numbers is going to tell, like right now, I'm getting a huge office space and I look at my numbers every single month. And based on my numbers, I made that big decision that I'm able to get a 3,000 square feet office. It's really 2,500, but I'm looking into getting the other space next door as well, because I'm looking to hire salespeople and marketing people, etc. But you're able to make these decisions because I'm looking at my P&L on a monthly basis, and you need to be paying your taxes on a quarterly basis, because if you don't, you do get an estimated tax penalty if you owe the IRS more than $1,000 at the end of the year. So, there's so many things that go into, so many things that go into finding the right person for you, finding the right accountant. You want to make sure, also another huge thing, I think I mentioned it earlier, you want to make sure that you hire somebody that has a team. So I have like 2 people on my Facebook Messenger consistently responding to Facebook messages because I'm either on the phone, I have team meetings, I need to make sure that I'm supporting my accounting team, I'm supporting my marketing team. There's just so much that I do, but I need to make sure that my clients are always being responded to, because I don't want my clients waiting for me. My admin responds to every single email that comes in. She sends out invoices. I have 2 people working on my Facebook Messenger. It's a good machine. And then when I have meetings, they tell me, who needs a response for me, and then I'm able to delegate it to my team. And sometimes I handle it depending on what it is. So there's so many things that a lot of business owners need. The other thing that I spoke to another client really quick is he wanted to open a corporation, and he was not ready to open a corporation because he was thinking about this business idea that he had. So before even opening a corporation, you want to make sure that it's the right thing to do. It's the right time. So he was just thinking of this business idea. And I said, hey, listen, it's December 12th today. Maybe you should think about it for 2 weeks, because if you open a corporation today, you need to file a separate corporate return next year. And I would want to avoid that filing. If you open the corporation beginning like the first week of January, or even January 1st, 2020, he no longer has to file a return for 2019 because he did not open the corporation in the 2019 year. So I saved him about, $500-$600 on the filing fees, because I told him to wait 2 weeks, think about it. It's the holiday season, and let's just open it in 2020 because it makes sense then. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great day. Bye.